Before we get started, this video is sponsored by FaB Foundry, one of the first Flesh and Blood specialized game stores in the world, a pillar of the local FaB community in Portland, Oregon, a world tour organizer, and my personal favorite LGS. FaB Foundry is your one-stop shop for all things FaB related, whether that's singles, sealed product, playmats, sleeves, dice and tokens, especially featuring products from Metal FaB and Thai cards. FaB Foundry also offers a rewards program, which you can use to get store credit back on all your purchases. So please go check out FaB Foundries, support our local community in Portland, and use our promo code FleshandBad for a discount on your next singles order. Alright, hey everyone, welcome back to more Flesh and Bad, and today I want to do some more MARLYNN practice. So we're just practicing for the Pro Quest, trying to get our first little couple LL points. And the grind continues, so one thing I am going to be doing today is practicing as though I don't have eye, because I think Tegan is going to borrow it for the weekend. And then, yeah, we're just tweaking a couple of things here and there on the board. I think this is largely the same as before. I think, was there any real substantial change to this deck? I can't remember. Actually, I got 79 cards here. Or no, I'm on 80. Okay, that's good. What was I changing about this deck? I think I was maybe bringing the third drop the anchor to do like 2 swell 3 drops. So I think I've been mostly working on the gravy board at this point. So the gravy board I've kind of got narrowed down. I think at this point I also maybe am cutting this hamstring, trying to do like Lone Shark on the board. I feel like this is maybe my gravy board at this point. But we'll try it a couple different ways, see how it goes. But yeah, this Lone Shark, I think the Lone Sharks are pretty important. I think the Codexes you can also kind of make an argument for cutting. But the reload's nice. One thing that we're going to try is to cut the tar pits, which I've heard like some people talk about and have some decent success with. So we'll try that in the gravy board. And then Ataya, I think, is also a card that has been surprisingly okay in the gravy as well. Just pretty good, because most gravies are on some number of D-reacts as well. So like getting the Ataya value is sometimes quite nice against them. But yeah, we're gonna run it this as is. I'm still just like practicing against a couple matchups. So yeah, we're just getting some last minute ProQuest practice. And yeah, with that, I think we'll go ahead and just get some games. All right, playing against a Fang. I think one of the tougher matchups, but I think going second does typically help a lot. And then this is gonna be Battering Bolts plus King Shark. And I think you can also run. There's like an argument for running Kraken, but I think we'll just try like this. You can also cut the one-up hamstring shot. Going to. I'm opposed to that. Or that's technically where our eyes should be. Let's run it like this. Probably fine. Alright, opponent is on balance, which is a little rough. Alright, starting out with the free mark as well. Oh, double filthy turn 0 is pretty rough. Okay, do we want to get any filtering here? I think I want to at least filter maybe the sleep dart. So maybe Tipple is actually a better filter, so we guaranteed have an arrow. Just ideally, you want to get one card deeper here. Alright, Trophy Shot on top is actually good for us. If you want to attack now, I'm kind of fine just giving them the last 2 cards in my hand. Right, it seems like they think better of it. Alright, so let's go ahead and start the Goldfin. Might not end up gold baiting hook here, but that's totally fine. Let's pitch the Authority. I think we're probably just discarding whatever comes off the top, unless it's 3 oak, basically. Alright, port side is a fine discard. We could also discard the Sleep Dart if we want to, just to get an arrow in the bin, in case we run into Codex, which I think is a little bit smarter. Alright, go and load that Goldfin. Send it. And I think since we are playing against a Fang, who typically doesn't have Arsenal Disruption, I think it's better to Arsenal to take aim here. And just send him for 10. Make Fang deal with this, and hopefully if they have reacts in hand, it's a little bit more annoying. Alright, so we get 9 on the board, which is nice. Yeah, starting on 2 fealty, I feel like it's not ideal, but we also didn't leak any damage, and we start with tempo, so maybe it's still worth it. I feel like in general, like, more often than not, Fang doesn't have like 2 fealty producers on turn 0. Or at least like he has to like hit with them. But yeah, this matchup still feels a bit rough. Right, but All right, let's go ahead and pass back. Okay. Can't tell if this hand is bad or good. I think this is a good hand actually. Like we're sending 17 on a Goldfin. I guess he can't complain about. The only problem is we're not like refreshing the gold, so we don't get to hook this unfortunately. Yeah, if take game gave you the option to like turn it face up, that'd be really nice. Can't have everything. Take game is a pretty decent card, just even if you don't get the face up. All right. But yeah, we should hopefully get a ponder token here, and then we can maybe just get a decent arsenal and try to filter towards like our 3-oaks and stuff. I feel like this is a matchup where the number of 3-oaks you see is very, very important. Right, starting a Searing Gaze, which is fine. They at least had to pitch this turn with the Relentless Pursuit, so it's maybe not even that bad for us. So we'll go to 2 Fealty, but they still need to get their 3rd one online. But them playing the Searing Gaze almost assuredly means that they probably have another source in hand. Go ahead and say no blocks. Right, there's the Long List for Loyalty, so this will be their other way to mark. Them also getting another dagger swing is a little unfortunate, but not the end of the world. Okay, and they're going to affirm loyalty as well, which makes sense. Yeah, our Fang opponent getting online pretty early here. Alright, they're going to go for the buff and the extra swing. I think. Or no, that they're going for the buff and the mark. Or no, did they get all 3? Wait. Choose 1. I mean, they just didn't get +2. Yeah, that's what it was. Alright, there's a little confusing there. So I'm assuming they're probably going to react this, because that's the only way the math makes sense. So imagining this is getting another +3 here. Yeah, second Searing Gaze is also pretty good. Fortunately for us, they haven't seen a ton of their huge damage stuff, so maybe Goldfin Harpoon for 17 still decent enough. Not super excited to be up against like 4 Fealty though. I feel like this is a matchup where typically the battering bolts are kind of the overperformers. Yeah, super funny hand we got here. Not actually like the worst hand in the world, but not. I probably prefer to send like, I don't know, some other big harpoon and a couple blues as opposed to just a big yellowfin. But I guess we get yellowfin for 17 here, which is not too bad. We are also threatening pre-med plus the lace on hit. So they have to give us a couple cards from hand here to stop the on hit. So they only have 7 armor here. And they need 3. They need to basically give us, if they have a D-React in hand, they'd have to give us 3 cards from hand and then have 1 left over. Seems like maybe they're just going to give 3 here, though. All right, so we do get to connect with this, so we're getting extra, like, +5 value here. So, like, kind of almost like a 22-point swing or something like that. Not too bad. All right, Battering Bolt is a pretty good arsenal. All right, so this is a good hand for just, like, blocking out with the 2 blues and then just, like, 3-oaking. Getting probably, like, 16-ish value. So let's go ahead and block with the Hamstring Shot. Probably going to find a way to, like, get this Gogan, but that's fine. I just want to get the 3 block value. They will glint, which is a little unfortunate. Maybe I actually should have, like, held back on the first chain link. But not the end of the world that they're giving this Gogan, because they have typically a lot of other sources to give Gogan. Alright, so they got plenty of fealty at this point. Their balance is also live if they want it. So let's go ahead and block with the Yellowfin here. I think we're just going to do a mini 3-oak. Then just Arsenal whatever for next turn. Hudson plus scar tissue. So yeah, getting some good damage here. Hopefully this battering bolt is good, but the problem is they do have balance, and they also have 4 block on equipment still. So battering is probably not going to be hitting next turn, but that's fine. Normally you want to try to like use battering to like force them off cards in hand more than anything. Sometimes you just kind of need it for tempo. All right, finishing on a for the Drake Eye. So we could actually end up blocking with the drill shot here if we wanted to. I do kind of like having like the 2 floating so that we can keep an arsenal ideally afterwards as well. But yeah, opponent also at 8 fealty is kind of hilarious. So they've got all their fealty online at this point. I'm like halfway tempted just to get the 3 value here and just YOLO up Tunic, but that's probably not correct unless we think we're drawing into 2 blues, which is like semi-likely actually. So maybe the drill shot is like actually kind of potentially worth risking. Let's see if we can try to get an extra 3 value here. This is a bit greedy, because if we don't draw into 2 blues, then we're not going to keep an arsenal. Is that worth it? I think we probably shouldn't get greedy here. Hopefully I get rewarded for not doing this, to show like why you want the 2 floating. But if we do draw into like 2 blues plus other arsenal, then we're like losing 3 value here, kind of. I guess we get to keep the Tunic counter on, so it's not like that bad. There are just like trade-offs here. Alright, let's go in 3 oak. Alright, so we did draw a bunch of blues. So I guess we did technically kind of get punished for not using our Tunic. But not even that badly, necessarily. We still get to Arsenal Redfin for next turn. The only problem here is that they're potentially going to be able to outvalue us just by blocking a bit and then cracking balance. I feel like our hands are just kind of like a little bit slow. Like we had the Goldfin for 17, which like on paper seemed pretty good, but like they just got online so early. Yeah, they have 5 armor here. They need to give us a 3 block and a 2 block from hand, so then they have 3 cards remaining afterwards. There's definitely still a lot of scary stuff they can do. So we'll at least force them to block, which is nice. Alright, so this is... What is this? This is like double react or something? Maybe like a ticket on the chin? Wait, why are they not blocking the extra 1 here? Okay, maybe they didn't have to. Maybe that was a joke. They didn't. But they still should probably block with dynamos. Okay, so they have a bunch of non-attacks at hand. I'm always kind of interested to look at how like these Fang lists are developing, because like sometimes I feel like it's actually maybe better against some Fang lists to like use what is it, the not the King Kraken as opposed to the King Shark. I guess in this case it didn't really matter. Right, Twist and Turn, Sword Vengeance. So they're coming in with a big Fire Vein here. I don't think we're realistically able to block this. I mean, we could try to block this and then just like 3 oak. We could block like 12 on our armor here, deny the card draw, and then deny the second swing. The problem is our hand is pretty good. So I almost want to like just say YOLO, take the hit here, and just hope that they can't follow up with a reaction. If we strip hand next turn, like that's pretty good for us. Decisions. Another problem is like the big game trophy shots, like we don't have the gold set up for it. I'm like so tempted to just block this. I think that might be incorrect, because we have the goat. I want to try to catch the day on the Redfin and try to get them that way. I think that's maybe better. So I think we're gonna let them hit here, which feels a bit wrong, but I think is maybe correct if we can just put them off tempo next turn. Oh wait, were we not marked? Oh, so the Saber Blood. So we weren't actually blocking out the card draw, because I think we didn't have a mark on us. I think maybe it wasn't paying attention. Okay, so here let's start with the catch of the day. Let's actually start with the big game trophy shot first, just for maximum information. So you might want to like not discard the catch of the day. All right, we're discarding the drill shot for sure. All right, let's catch. We have +6 already. Let's 3-oak then. Hoping for 2 blues and then some other random card. If we get the Codex though, it's actually not that bad. All right, so if we can strip their hand here, this is actually really good for us. So let's now go for the Hammerhead, pitching the Codex, and pull Tunic. And I don't think we can afford to hook this because, like, if we hit with this, we basically strip their hand anyways. So yeah, let's not hook. Just coming for 14. So they have 4 points here. They can block 3/3. You react, and that would cover it. But sometimes Fang hands are a little bit clunky depending on what they have. So if this like fully resolves and we get to go fish them, like I think they actually just like lose the game on the spot. But if we don't hit, like there are a lot of hands that can have where they just like block out and like maybe just keep one thing. Definitely depends, but this is looking like a little bit more of like an attack action focused Fang. Or sorry, not attack focused Fang. Like they have the Sword of Vengeances, the Twists and Turns, Saber Bloodsheds, and then like the it seemed like maybe just the one of like 4 of the Drakai and maybe like a couple more in deck. It's always interesting seeing like how the Fang lists are evolving though. I feel like there's like a mix of them between like the attack lists and then the non-attack lists. Right, seems like we're getting all armor, third card from hand. Oh, and then we hit. Okay, so let's see how many reds they got in hand. I'm imagining since they're Fang, they probably have 2 reds at least. All right, so Blistering Blade is representing +4, and then the Oaths. So they'll always be able to keep their fealty here, which is interesting. I do want to try to avoid a situation where like overblocking. So I think what we'll do is just take the Oath, or we'll leave them with just with the Oath. I mean, the Gogan also like doesn't matter. So yeah, we'll just take everything but the Oath here, I think. Because I think the math works out the same regardless. Oh, actually, no. The Oath is strictly worse, right? Because we give them an extra point of damage. Okay, so that's actually my bad. I think the correct choice is actually for the Drakai, because that's the least amount of damage. But this is still okay. We have 3-out, so we can still block out, but I do feel a little bit bad giving them that extra point. I think it's just like strictly worse, right? So let's go and give them the gold baited hook. I think we're gonna just go ahead and block with Tunic now. Just so we're not in a situation where we're like overblocking and losing value. So let's turn over the Twist and Turn. So yeah, I think the correct choice was actually the for the Drakai there. Okay, so we'll unfortunately lose a point of value here, but it's fine. We'll give up the Tunic. Stay a bit healthy just so they can't like attack action us down or attack react us down. I think I'm gonna crack a couple gold here, just looking for any pump at this point. How many pumps have we seen? We have 1 lace left. We have 2 pre-meds, 1 take game, 2 tips, 1 big game trophy. So we've got a lot of decent pumps left in the deck. Codex Exploder's kind of a pump. I think I'll maybe take 2 more chances at the gold though. Port side's fine. The port side is like kind of a redraw. Let's still... Yeah, let's port side now and just dig 1 card deeper. It also refreshes our hook, which is nice. Sleep Dart's fine. And I think we're going to do 1 last one, leave ourselves with 1 gold, and just pitch the Sleep Dart. All right, and this is perfect. So we have 2 buffs. So the only way we brick here is if we don't draw at least 1 blue off the top. But it's still pretty likely to find a blue here. All right, and now we 3-oak. Yeah, our 3-oaks lined up really well this game. Okay, so this is a little bit unfortunate. We do have the battering. This is not like a complete fail. But maybe I'm actually trying to look 1 card deeper here just to get the extra blue. Maybe we got greedy and with the buff a little bit. All right, so now let's crack a gold and hope to kind of dig ourselves out here. All right, yellow is unfortunate. So maybe actually we got a little bit greedy, like pitching sleep dart. That's fine though. Let's go ahead and then battering bolt. So we can't even buff this, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe my greed got a little bit of the better of me. So yeah, at this point, let's go ahead and just pitch a game. Yeah, I think if we hit a blue there, we're in pretty good shape. If we don't hit a blue, it's like significantly worse, it feels like. Little tiny points might add up this game, actually. For what it's worth, I feel like we're like reasonably likely to get hit a blue there. I feel like we've seen like a pretty decent mix of our reds and our blues at this point. All right, seems like we're maybe gonna get cards from hand. Right, and smoke out from arsenal. So opponent has a 1-card hand at this point. And Fang 1-card hands are pretty scary, I feel like, on average. But we do have a King Shark in arsenal. Hopefully, maybe we can find 2 blues off the top at this point, because this hand's a little rough without it. Oh, okay. These draws are not quite lining up. So I think at this point, we now have to block with the King Shark. Assuming that they have some kind of pump here. Yeah, these are kind of an unfortunate set of draws. But it's also pretty good. That gets them another extra card here. Alright, twist and turn. Alright, but they won't have go again here, which is nice. Oh, sorry. Passed too quickly. Alright. Go ahead and block with our Sea Lathe. So unfortunately, a little bit of variance here at the end. But for what it's worth, we should also be 1 point of life higher. Might end up mattering this game. In our favor, though, we do have a King Shark coming in for 12 next turn, and they are at 5. Currently, they do still have the dynamos up, so they have 2 points of armor. So they'll have to block, coming in for 12 total. Probably should also hook this, just because they're like, if they block, we're probably winning. If they don't block, we get a gold. All right, currently blocking 12 on 10, which is nice. So we do get to connect here. Okay. I've like kind of punted this game, but also we somehow managed to resolve this at least. All right, Scar Tissue, last card in hand. Which means that this is going to be coming in for 5. This is going to be coming in for 2, or for 1 rather. So we need to figure out how to kill them with the Blood Rot, I think. This is 5, this is 2. Or sorry, this is okay, so sorry. Scar Tissue in hand, they pop the fealty, they turn Draconic. This pumps to 5, right? They attack him with another Fire Vein. That pumps. They take 2 off the Blood Rot, so we just need to deal 1 damage. So I think we use the Sunken Treasure and block with a Tipple on the next thing. They could also just pass here and try to keep an arsenal. I feel like it's better to push the damage if I'm Fang, and also they lose the fealty if they don't, right? So yeah, the little 1 extra point of health might actually be relevant this game, because like now, if we didn't have that 1 extra point loss, right, we don't have to block with this Tipple this turn. But we might still get there anyways. We're gonna be forcing if they're 3 cards out of their hand next turn. But yeah, we definitely missed that 1 point of value. But yeah, super close Fang game. I think like overall we played it pretty well. We drew our 3 oaks at a pretty good time. It just kind of felt like maybe towards the end we peter out. Also, I shouldn't be hooking this, but like it kind of doesn't matter at this point. Coming in for 8, but theoretically it's strictly wrong to hook there. We could hopefully catch them in a hand that's like not react heavy, and maybe they're not able to block this. They have 0 for 4 D-react. I think we're probably dead though. And we probably have like 2 shelters left in the deck. So that might just kill us. Maybe the 1 point didn't really matter anyways. There's Sink Below, which we've also not seen a ton of. Yeah, I think our opponent just barely got us here. They played it really well, though. I think we also like made a very minor mistake in taking the not the go again attack, or not taking the non-go again attack as opposed to the go again attack. But I don't know if that translates to 1 offensive damage. It means we're at functionally 2 instead, but maybe that doesn't actually end up mattering. Codexes were a little late. That's the only thing I will say about this game. But yeah, I think at this point we can't really afford to block. I guess the only how do we win this game? Maybe they just have like pledge fealty and we can like afford to block the codex here. Like maybe that's kind of our only out, but even then it's a little bit sus. So let's try to at least play to our outs. Yeah. Right, they have the Imperial Intent, which is to be expected. But yeah, I think we can't really beat any react there if we're kind of blocking out. Oh, and they have the Fire and Brimstone as well. Yeah, pretty good from a Fang opponent. And yeah, they still had a lot of like reacts left in deck and the overcrowds as well. So like, I feel like maybe they're more likely than not to draw a D-react on the last turn. So I feel like we played that mostly correctly. I'm trying to think like what the lineup. Not finding the codexes was a bit rough, and like we had a bunch of turns where we're just sending like kind of vanilla damage. I feel like the Redfin turn was pretty good though. Yeah, other than that, like I feel like just some awkward clunky hands towards the end there. All right, let's see if we can get another playing against a Gravy. See how this goes. So Gravy is a bit of a tougher matchup, but we're still running the Swells, which I think make it a little bit easier. I think I have gone up on a drop-in anchor. And supposedly one interesting piece of tech that people are trying out is to remove the tar pit traps, which I kind of want to try today. See how this goes though. What other card? I feel like the Loan Shark also probably belongs to be in, or deserves to be in here. Maybe we actually cut the Hamstring instead, bring in the 3rd Loan Shark. Oh, Ataya is another card that I'm wanting to try. Supposedly that's also been performing quite well in a Gravy. Right. See how we want to start off here. So I feel like this is more of a Goldfin turn. Yeah, let's go ahead and try to make a Goldfin. If we draw blue off the top, it's pretty good. But yeah, we basically get to pretty freely hit here. I think I'd rather try to Arsenal Sleep Dart because of the 1-for-3 stat line. Alright, Codex of Blood Rot we might just save for next turn. So yeah, we'll try to Arsenal this and then just take game, send 9. Alright, opponent's on balance, which I think is generally the best headpiece they can run in this matchup. So balance is a little bit rough. I feel like balance is a really good card into like Gravy right now. But we kind of get like a lot of like incidental hate off of it, which is a bit funny. Yeah, the resurgence of balance has actually made MARLYNN suffer just a little bit. All right, but if we do get them to block with the balance, I'm pretty happy with this. It seems like they maybe have react. Okay, no, maybe you just want to block the balance. I think that is also fine. So go ahead and Arsenal the Blood Rod here. It's not too bad. All right, so we have the King Kraken. I think what I'm looking to do here is try to block with the Kraken if presented with the opportunity, and then we can just Codex it back. And maybe what we end up doing is like pitching the trophy shot, or like over pitching or pitching the trophy shot to gold. Try and find another blue here, and then we get a pretty good Codex turn. Right, opponent has Call of the Grave. To me, it doesn't really matter what we do here, because I imagine normally the priority with this is Chum, but I have seen people get Anka turn 0. But they do have the first Chum online, which is pretty good. Oh, they're just gonna get a Swabby instead. Okay, interesting. Don't know if that's correct. Like from the MARLYNN perspective, it feels like strictly correct to just grab a Chum, and it looks like they're also pitching a Chum, which is interesting. But I think here, let's try to at least kind of punish them for this. So let's go ahead and just get our 3 block here. And then I think we're going to try to cycle this big game trophy shot into a blue, ideally. I think if we don't find a blue, it's not the end of the world. We can just try to, like, Codex and then grab the Kraken and then just, like, fire it at the Swabby. I think that's, like, a fine fail state. We'll try to ignore the Swabby for now if we can afford to. I feel like there's also maybe some merit to doing something with the big game trophy shot, but the math here is a bit awkward. So let's go ahead and try to find a blue up the top. Okay, they're going to compass in response. Blue, please. All right, blue is excellent. It's perfect. Now we get to Codex in the Codex, and then Hammerhead, Codex again. Yeah, let's hopefully try to punish them for not grabbing the chum here. And we're also going to be making 2 Ponder tokens, so if we don't connect with the King Kraken, it's actually not the end of the world. Like, we can just discard one of the Ponder tokens to the Loan Shark and get a fresh draw, and we're basically not down any cards at all. Yeah, if this gets, like, blocked out, it's actually kind of fine. All right, we connect with the Kraken here, which is good. Let's take a look at their hand. All right, so we have a Vasti, 2 attacks, and then the Sawbones. So I think here it's kind of interesting. Theoretically, taking the Sawbones does not really help us. I feel like a Vasti is actually like the best thing because that would give their Swappy go again. So I think let's take the action points here. The only unfortunate thing is we're making a gold here, so that we're technically not going to be able to like pay off our Loan Shark, but that's still fine. It can stay around for another turn. Hopefully, we can find an efficient way to like pay it off later. All right, so let's go to Arsenal C4 salvage or the port side. Since we have a bit of gold, I kind of want to just Arsenal C4 here, but I think there's arguments to the port side because that kind of gives you like the free reload. All right, so yeah, Prismatic Leyline plus the Jerry Buns plus the Sawbone. They're not going to be able to swing everything here, which is at least nice. Yeah, unfortunately, it seems like this turn they're maybe going to play out the Sawbone, so maybe it's actually worse to Arsenal the salvage here. It's still fine. We can like turn over our own stuff. Maybe a little bit of like a miss sequence from our end though. Unless they just want to like swing the Swabby here and not play out the Sawbones. I guess it's also an option. But it feels like it's probably better to just get that online. It can also Dead Threads here for what it's worth, so it can swing the Swabby instead of the Sawbones. So coming in for 9, I think we want to just try to keep the full hand here, if possible. We have Authority, which will hopefully help ensure us next turn. Yeah, let's try to keep the full hand here. We might end up needing to keep the Goldfin and not port side yet. But it's a bit dependent, I guess, on what we draw. I think that, okay, they may just want to tap that for fun. Fair enough. Oh, I guess they can tap it for the Blood Rot. Oh, that's pretty cool. Neat interaction. All right, let's go ahead and C4 salvage. So we now paid off our loan. I guess let's turn over their lane line so they can't get it back later. And then I think we're going to start by cracking at least a few gold here. Let's go ahead and crack. I feel like we're going to port side at some point, even if we make a gold pin. So I don't think we need to make a gold pin necessarily right away. Let's go ahead and crack 1 gold and see what we find. All right, C4 salvage, not super helpful, I'd say. So let's now make the gold pin, but we're probably actually going to hold on to it because we don't currently have an arrow yet. What we could do is we could C4 salvage one of our own things if we wanted to. Or we could just kill the Sawbones, which I think is not correct. Part of me wants to get a bit greedy and just try to find a big arrow here because we are a little bit behind, especially given the current board state. Could crack 1 more gold and just see what happens. Let's crack 1 more gold. If we find a big arrow, I'd rather just play that. All right, Loan Shark number 2 is actually not the worst thing in the world. So let's Arsenal, Loan Shark, Alright, they're gonna pop their balance, which is fine. Means we can hook this turn. We could just take care of an ally here, but it's like so inefficient. Yeah, not finding a ton. We find a lot of blues, but not a ton of juice. We could take one card deeper here if we wanted to. Maybe we were supposed to instead of goldfinning, but maybe I'm just supposed to like take the loss here. Yeah, let's see if we're salvage one more time. Wait, is this like the third C4 salvage we played this turn? Or maybe just the third. Or no, sorry, this is just the second C4 salvage. Okay. Not losing my mind. Alright, so this is kind of a precarious spot. Because we're not sending a disruptive arrow. And this is just kind of presenting functionally vanilla damage. Right, them tapping their Sawbones is at least a little bit comforting though. Means they maybe don't have a way to just like go super wide next turn. Also not seen any of our drop the anchors this game. I feel like there are a lot of just like little kind of tech cards that we missed. We haven't seen our swells either. Like the one King Kraken that we had was pretty good, but other than that, I feel like we've been drawing kind of just a bunch of fluff. I feel like maybe we should have gotten like a little bit more aggressive with the gold. Maybe that was our ticket back in the game. Okay, let's see if we connect here though. So we do at least get the Ponder token, which is nice. And a little bit of extra gold on top. I still don't feel super great about this though. I feel like there's a lot of risk to just like popping all my gold and digging though. Not incredibly happy with the current state of the game, but that's fine. Go ahead and connect for 8 and we'll get our Ponder. So Loan Sharks might end up hurting us at some point if we get disrupted here. Alright, Tipple's a fine arsenal. Yeah, again, not finding a ton of our gas at this point. We still haven't seen our 3 Oaks as well. We got a lot of juice left on the deck, we just kind of gotta find it. Alright, Chum from hand. Yeah, that's gonna be pretty good for this turn. Yeah, this might just be a turn off to clear Chum, but then we're giving up full tempo, which is obviously quite rough. Hopefully they're just swinging Chum here. H Masters, maybe they have like another ally in hand. Another Sawbones. Yeah, that's pretty good. There's the Chum as well. All right, let's go ahead and make sure to get our block value in because we're probably going to be spending most of our turn clearing Chum here. We need to clear in for 8, otherwise we cannot kill it. So let's go ahead and block with the Sleep Dart. We could also block with the pre-med here if we want. It's like a little bit risky though. We also just saved the pre-med for Arsenal, so I think we're just going to block 3 here. For what it's worth, they have not gotten a lot of hook value, but the double Sawbones is obviously quite annoying. So we'll leak 1 there. We'll try to preserve our armor as much as possible. So ideally, the thing you want to do against Chum is like force them to use it. So I'm hoping that I can at least make a compelling case here for them to just like pop their Chum like right now. It looks like they're going to be a little bit patient, which I think is also quite reasonable. All right, so let's go ahead and start with a Tipple at face. And then we'll try, if we draw like a red off the top, we still have the out to pre-medding, like double pump on it, but it looks like we found the blue, which is nice. If they don't want to give me stuff, I think I'm still supposed to clear the Chum, but ideally I'd like for them to activate. I also probably should have gold baited hooked this, but I don't know how much it really mattered. I've seen 1 fearless confrontation, so that could definitely be a blowout here. So the question here is now, do I want to get greedy? I think I'm still going to try to make them use the chum. Let's close chain. I think going off an arsenal here is kind of fine, especially with 3 oaks left in the deck. And if they don't want to chum, then I think that's also fine. Yeah, let's go ahead and just hit them if they're not going to activate. I basically want to force them to activate, because if we leave them, like if we swing a chum and we leave them with like a bunch of blues in hand, like Avastes and stuff, and they're able to go super wide, then that's, I think, like the way we kind of lose. We also probably should have gold baited hook this for what it's worth. But they also don't have a ton of gold, so it's not super relevant, but we did have technically a free activation with the tipple there. So it could be looking at -1 gold, which might end up mattering. Interesting. All right, looks like they're going to pop at least 1 Sawbones here. All right, 2 Sawbones, so coming in for 9 currently. All right, let's see if we connect. All right, so we do connect, which means we do get the Ponder as well, and then we get a look at their hand. All right, so they have Chart the High Seas, Swells, and a Restless Bone. So let's take the chart here. If they don't have an ally on top, this is actually really good for us, potentially. But yeah, technically we should be at 6 gold at this point. Big Game Trophy's not a terrible arsenal, though. So it looks like they maybe do have the ally up the top if they're playing this out. Pretty good. Alright, Whaler we don't care about, but it is still a little bit annoying. Yeah, we're going to be leaking some damage here, and they're probably going to end up chumming us next turn. Fortunate. For what it's worth, we also didn't see like any of our tech this game. We saw no Sawbones, and both of our C4 salvages didn't do anything. Oh, they also had a blue. Wait, was this like an RNG blue? I mean, I guess they're all RNG blues, right? But a little unfortunate, we also took an extra point of damage there. Yeah, they've like not even activated Hook this game, which is kind of crazy. But I guess they have not really had like a super good excuse to. So we definitely want to block at least a little bit here. Let's get block with like, because I imagine we're probably just gonna have to kill a chum. Maybe blocking the take game's like kind of fine. And we are gonna lose a bit of life. Super awkward. Yeah, let's go ahead and block with the take aim. Our entire hand blocks too, which is also a bit unfortunate here. We can hopefully get them on like a brick hand though. Maybe no ally hand. Maybe that's what gets us in the game. Trying to at least keep my hopes up a little bit here. Let's go ahead and pitch the Codex. Alright, this is kind of interesting actually. We have a 0 cost. We have the Sleep Dart. So we need... we don't actually have the way to play out the Sleep Dart at this point. We need to like pitch here. Maybe we just need to get lucky off the top. I mean, we're sitting on 4 gold, and we're probably looking to lose anyways next turn, so maybe we just need to kind of YOLO. Could have also pitched the pre-med to like Sleep Dart or something. Maybe Drill Shot's actually good enough. Right, they are going to chum now. Discarding second Whaler is interesting. Alright, so let's load the Drill Shot. Then pre-med. Actually, we probably don't. Oh no, do we want to pre-med? Yeah, we do want to pre-med so that we guarantee kill the chum. And then let's go ahead and go for the Drill Shot. We're going to be taking 4 off the Loan Sharks, though. Yeah, this is rough. Pretty rough. Can you imagine if Big Game Trophy Shot was when this hits, get a gold? I feel like that'd actually make a huge difference, because then we wouldn't have to like pay for the Loan Sharks here. But that would be nice. Yeah, the pre-med also doesn't trigger here. Yeah, depending on how many action points they have next turn, we could be dead. But I think we also drew like fairly poorly this game. They actually discard this and just go off an arsenal in case they have like a conqueror. Let's not though. Drop's pretty important. This hand is like close to being good. Depends how good their hand is. If they're not sending a conk, I think this hand's pretty alright, but they are kind of overdue for a conk at this point. We can manage to block like 7 here and stay alive. I feel like that would be best case scenario. Right, port side's scary. Okay, Fiddler Screen is bad for us, but like not that bad. It's basically just Sigil at this point, right? And loot's not that bad. Alright, we can potentially high roll ourselves into this game. So I think what we need to happen... So there's 2 lines I see. We either block with the swell, big game trophy shot, YOLO. We have so many big arrows in the deck too. So we need to block out the loop. So we're definitely blocking here. The question is whether or not we want to block with the swell or we want to block with the big game trophy shot. And I think maybe we don't need to risk it on the swell because we already have the resources. So I think we keep the big game here. It's like a little bit greedy though. Let's do this though. I think this makes the most amount of sense because this like big game trophy shot high rolls in and of itself, whereas saltwater swell is like not guaranteed. Yeah, I think here we're just gonna try to get lucky. Alright, so we'll start with the drop. Fortunately, their hand is not, or like their board state is not really good to drop at this point. But let's go ahead and crack some gold. So we're going to start with the big game. Get a bit greedy here. Find seafloor salvage. I think at this point we 3-oak because we're just looking for big arrow, like any big arrow. I think at this point we'll do it. Yep, I think we're just going to 3-oak now. Alright, find King Kraken, which is perfect. We find another 3-oak. Really, really good. We get to tap them down, so they're going to be staring down 15 functionally. They have a couple armor as well. So we're not completely back in, but like we're about in as good a spot as possible. I think we might as well just hook here. Like, I don't think they can fully block this out unless they have like a very specific hand. They do still have a bunch of blood in the waters in the deck. But beyond that, they could also be running Sink Belows. If we get to like ruin their hand and tap them though, this could be like kind of a game changer. Am I running King Sharks in this board? Let me actually check. Yeah, we are running the King Sharks in this board. So maybe a little bit unlucky that we haven't seen a ton of our red arrows at this point. Alright, Lone Sharp block I do like to see. Although if they have a hand of like 3 attacks, then that's obviously a bit unfortunate. Oh, it looks like they scooped. Okay, they didn't have the juice to block it. They could have technically, I think, stayed alive here, right? We go to 8, we take the tip the barkeep, they have a rigor, we tap them down. I guess they do technically kind of win, and then what are we drawing off 3-oak? We draw a bunch of red, so we King Shark for 10. Then we kill them, I guess, next turn. Okay, we barely got there. Oh, man, that matchup felt, like, weird. I feel like if they actually got the chum, like, super early there, we were in, like, really bad shape. And then, like, they also didn't see any of their conquerors this game. They didn't see any of their Diriacs also, which is, like, I feel like we, like, both kind of low-rolled each other, but my low roll was, like, slightly better, I guess. I guess that sometimes can happen against Gravy, right? Like, if they're just not finding their good cards and you disrupt them at the right time. That's kind of how you can get ahead. But yeah, this matchup still feels very sus. Okay, but yeah, let's see if we can get another. Okay, playing against a Verdance. Try to go for AB1 here. I've actually cut the Null Rune Boots to see if that kind of improves this matchup. A couple of us were kind of talking about that. Let's go ahead and bring in a Taya and Riches, and then we can cut the Hamstring because that's where I'm fitting. I don't know if I explained this before the video, but I think that Tegan is going to use the eye this weekend, so I want to just try to throw a random blue in there and see how it works, but we're cutting in this case, which is fine. And yeah, I think we're running like this. All right, bad hand to kind of start, but not completely unsalvageable. Our opponent like attacks us here. That's obviously like best case scenario. Oh, this is like perfect. They would have like just blocked 12 on this. Unironically, this is like actually amazing for us. Getting a fresh 4 cards is so good. All right, find the 3 oak. We find 2 3 oaks, I guess. The 3 oaks are a little bit awkward with the codex. So I think we're just gonna pitch codex here, and if we have to send a red fin, I'm fine with that. I want to try to like arsenal the other 3 oak ideally. We haven't found any of our big harpoons, so I think this is fine. Let's go ahead and hold on. I don't want to hold on to the loan shark over anything here, so let's just like overpitch our blues. And I think we'll just go ahead and send in here. Red fin harpoon can be a bit annoying against Verdance, depending on what their situation is. We do want to keep track of the number of blues we've seen. So we've seen 6, 7 blues at this point. So pretty blue heavy kind of opening hand here. And how many of our reds have we seen? So I also count our reds as yellow. So we have, or our yellows as reds, right? So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So 7 to 4, which means we're trying to do the red blue counting thing. So that means reds are positive, right? So we were +3 at this point. Or no, I think blues are positive, so we're -3 at this point. So kind of try to keep track here. 3 cards in pitch, and then we have 3 cards in pitch, and we're -3. Okay. So much more likely to draw reds at this point. All right, we get 3 cards out of them. I think that's fine. Notably, they don't quite have decompose yet, at least on board. They have 2 like reacts or pseudo reacts, so we shouldn't be getting like plowed or felling or anything just yet. All right, we can get some nice value out of the sunken treasure though. I'm definitely looking at here. Kind of like doing this and then just holding on the drill shot, and we maybe just go for a goldfin here. If we want to go for the goldfin, we could also pitch the loan shark and just like make the goldfin hand and block 6. I think that's also reasonable. I do like getting an early loan shark off against Verdance though. I think we're gonna take the 4 here and just turn over the plow under, keep them off decompose. Seems fine. All right, let's go ahead and start with the loan shark. I think we're just gonna play it a little bit safe here and make the goldfin. Good YOLO for an arrow, but I think generally you can get super punished for that. All right, and it kind of worked out here. So let's go ahead and load the goldfin. We are like kind of losing a bit of value out of our 3 oak, but it's not the end of the world here. Goldfin with a tie on it, still like pretty fine. And we do get the free hook as well. So this kind of like saved us. Or like in this hand, we didn't draw like an arrow we wanted to play. And we also like pitched a decent number of arrows. So like I think it actually worked out quite well. All right, so let's try to keep track of our pitch. So we're pitching another 2 blues. We've seen 2 reds. Sorry, we've seen an extra red here. So we've seen 1, 2, 3. I think we played all our reds at this point. We pitched 1 red. So we've seen so we're -3 last turn. We drew. I'm already starting to unblocking with the warmongers is concerning. Sorry. I got distracted by the red blue counting and then immediately saw the warmongers, and I'm less than enthused that they're blocking with it. I do love to see them pitch a shelter though. Or pitch a CNC2 shelter. The only problem here, the biggest problem here is them blocking the warmongers means that I think they're going to send in the warmongers. Let me see if I can try to reestablish what our red blue is. So pitch 2 blues. So we have 5 cards in pitch. We have seen 3 blues this turn plus 1 or 2 reds. So now we are minus. So we've seen more blues, so we're now -4, I think. I think if that math checks out correctly. Yeah, definitely curious to see what they're going to do here now that the Ataya is online. All right, looks like they are going to still go for the shelter here. But yeah, them blocking the warmongers is definitely concerning. feel like there might be a Warmongers in our future, but I don't think we can realistically play around it here. I guess we'll just arsenal the gold to tip. Okay, they did not choose to go for the Warmongers there. It was a bit of surprise. I think given the hand, we just want to set up for a Goldfin turn. So maybe we're pitching the Codex of Bloodrot. Or maybe we're pitching the port side, discarding the Codex of Bloodrot, and then hopefully finding a blue off the top, which is actually not likely. But so we've actually drawn 3 cards here, which means these are all reds, which means we are now only -1. So the chances is like pretty 50-50 at this point. This is actually fine. I think we have 5 cards in pitch, which means 40 fresh cards in deck. Doing my best here to red blue count. I might not be like totally accurate, but the vibes are more important than the actual like accurate count. So we're -1 currently, which means that we have slightly higher chance of drawing reds, but that's still fine. So let's try to pitch the port side exchange here, because we want to try to find a blue off the top. If we don't find a blue, what is the backup here? Codex of Bloodrot's actually like kind of reasonable, because we just get to refresh the Ponder, force them to have an arsenal. Might actually be better than the Lace in this situation, because the Lace has to hit to get the value. I think I don't mind this, so we'll load the Goldfin, do this, and then end on the Bloodrot, which gets us a Ponder token, which is also pretty high value. There's also maybe a merit to just like digging an extra card to get a blue there, but like I feel like the risk reward is not necessarily there. I think this turn's like kind of good enough. We're basically threatening 2 extra gold, and we made another gold this turn, keeping the Loan Shark around. So I think this is fine. Also done a good job keeping them off Decompose this game. Or I guess we didn't really do anything to specifically keep them off Decompose, right? But we they have at least not been able to Decompose, which is nice for us. All right, big game trophy shot's a nice arsenal. All right, if they're just coming in with a pulsing, I think we're kind of okay with this. So no reason AB. And ideally, next turn we're looking for blue off the top. So what is our draw? So we drew plus. We're functionally +2 with this draw, or +4 because we pondered this, right? So we're +4 on cards we've seen. So we're -1 last turn. We drew an extra card, so I think we're minus. Or no, we're at 0 next turn, so we're very likely to draw blue at this point. We're either +3 or we're +4 in terms of our red-blue count. So let's start by making a Goldfin, and I think we're pretty likely to hit a blue off the top here, if I'm not mistaken. All right, we do hit a blue. Okay. So I'm doing my best here to try to demonstrate like the red-blue counting thing, which you can do, but it's very hard to do it while also like talking at the same time, which is kind of like the eternal struggle, I guess, of content creation, right? All right, they don't have Felling in the bin, so anything they get is fine here. I feel like the worst case scenario would be like Tilling. We don't really care that much about Tilling. Oh, I did forget that I guess we don't have Big Harpoon yet. It's still fine though. We get a blue. Obviously, ideal scenario would be to get like a Kraken or a Shark here, but I kind of wasn't paying attention to our graveyard. I knew we had at least some Harpoons in here. I just wasn't paying attention to which ones. All right, so opponent's going to get an E-Strike here. I feel like regardless of the red or blue, it doesn't actually matter a ton here. So we're currently pumping 11, so this is 15. Still pretty blockable. I feel like the hook here is like a little bit risky, but I don't think we're going to go for it. And we're already threatening non-hit gold with the big game trophy shot, so I feel like threatening an extra gold is not incredibly relevant. One more 3 oak in the deck, and 2 more codexes. So good to keep track of. We've drawn pretty hot this game, and I feel like they've not necessarily, although they did have the Warmongers, they just kind of chose not to play it. All right, so we connect here, which is great. So I imagine maybe hand is like 2 blues at this point. All right, not 2 blues, that's fine. What did they get? They got an E-Strike back. They can't play either of these, which is nice. But maybe we should have gotten the red fin there. It depends a lot on the hand. I feel like I'd ideally rather take a blue out of their hand than a red if given the opportunity. All right, but I think Kraken is a nice arsenal. All right, so I imagine they're probably going to try to just set up a Felling on us next turn. So let's turn over. I mean, turning over any of their cards doesn't really matter. I feel like we'd rather just turn over our cards at this point. So I feel like the ideal scenario here is we're just trying to port side to refresh our gold, keep our loan shark around so we're not taking damage, and then hopefully draw like a pump off the top. We also like dig pretty deep with this hand. We do have 6 gold that we do want to make use of. And how many buffs do we have left in deck? A decent amount. So we drew a bunch of blues this turn. That maybe means that we're actually like decently likely to draw buffs. I feel like it's still pretty 50-50 though. I've immediately lost track of the red blue count at this point. That's fine. You mostly try to vibe it more than anything. All right, let's go ahead and turn over the gold to tip. Just refresh our gold. Next turn we can port side and maybe start cracking a bit of gold as well. So I think let's maybe not port side right away. Let's start with like cracking a tipple. See what we find. All right, Codex is fine for a future turn. Could stop here if we wanted to. I don't think it's completely unreasonable, but maybe I kind of want to try to do like a 3 gold crack to try to find buff plus blue. Is like the ideal scenario. All right, there's buff. Now we just need blue. But if we also find a buff here, it's like we'll find because Catch of the Day is both a buff and a blue. So I think this is working out. All right, so we found a blue. So since Catch of the Day is both a buff and a blue, we actually kind of hit here. Now let's go ahead and crack the Hammerhead. And we could actually just make a Goldfin Harpoon to discard the Loan Shark to save 2 points of life. I feel like if we connect with the King Kraken, we're winning anyways. So if we make a Goldfin to hand, it's not actually that bad. So I'm actually going to make a preemptive Goldfin here, which seems awkward, but I feel like we're not going to actually be hitting with this King Kraken because if we hit with this King Kraken and reveal anything, we like actually win the game on the spot. And like they have tons of armor at this point, so like it's more likely than not that they're able to block the Kraken this turn, especially just given that they've not seen like a ton of their D-Reacts at this point. So we're making the Goldfin, which we could very well IP ourselves with, but we do have the Codex in Arsenal, so overall still not bad. Even if we IP ourselves with the Goldfin, like we can still just like discard it or whatever. It's fine. I think I like making the Goldfin here because this is a situation where they want to actively give us basically all their armor plus a D-React if possible. Which seems like they're going to try to do here. If we connect and we end up making a bunch of gold here, we're like winning anyways. But if we don't connect with this and we take 2 damage, that could potentially like lose us the game, right? So that's kind of like the logic for making the Goldfin here. Right, they have React, so as expected, like this basically just kind of took a bunch of cards out of the hand, but we didn't get to connect to make the gold anyway, so we're basically saving ourselves 2 life by doing this. Right, discard the Goldfin. So lots of blues in pitch at this point. All right, there's our last 3 oak. And we do have a Kraken in the bin now, so this hand's actually really good. This is only a baby felling at this point. So I think I'm fine taking the 4 damage here. Let's go ahead and just hold on to our armor. I think it's not quite at the point yet where we need to use armor. I think once I get below or around like, I think it's like around 17, 16 is when I want to start using armor, but I think 18 we can hold on to it for like at least another turn. So go ahead and just take the 4 here. We're going to drop to 18, but we have gotten them all the way out of armor, and we have 3 of turn coming up, so really, really good. Go ahead and take game. Not do that. Cancel. 3 oak first. Right, and Harpoon is an excellent arsenal target for next turn. Although we will have to discard a card if we want to arsenal this, or like guarantee the arsenal. How many codexes, I guess, have we seen? We could guarantee this as an arsenal, and that's perfectly reasonable. I guess the question is, like, going -1 gold, correct to do that? I guess in this case, we should actually draw the card instead of making the Goldkin, because we might want to, like, just discard, like, a random gold to tip or whatever. I think this is fine. So let's go ahead and Codex now. We'll hold on to the King Kraken, and then Arsenal, or we'll discard the gold to tip and hold on to the King Kraken for Arsenal next turn. And we have not made a gold this turn, so this is fine. We can just swing in with the Kraken here. So we're not guaranteed to connect with the Kraken. We're pretty likely, I'd say. But there is still always a chance that they block with like Barkskin, plus Rootbound, plus maybe they like... I guess they can't actually decompose in response to the Barkskin, right? So I guess this is only ever blocking 1. But there is always a chance that they draw like 3 D-reacts, which is more than likely. Right, go ahead and take 10 here. So let's see what they got in hand. They might very well have another action here, and if they ever bloom here, I'm kind of fine with that. All right, so they have Plow under plus E-Strike, but we're not getting plowed this turn, which is great. Or we might not be getting plowed. They might have a plow in Arsenal or something. But them having a bunch of attacks is actually pretty good for us, I'd say. Let's Arsenal the take game instead of the Kraken, because I think it's like a little less greedy. All right, love double pitch to Felling. Obviously, getting Felling for 8 feels bad, but whatever. So I think in this case, what we're going to do is try to just cycle our riches towards a blue, and then just ditch the big game trophy shot, because we don't really have the resources at this point. Oh, did we give them back a Felling last turn? Or did they just have a Felling? No, I think they had a Felling, right? Or they just had a Felling in Arsenal, right? We didn't give them back one. All right, I was like a little bit worried there that I like accidentally just like gave them one, which is obviously not what you want to be doing, but we get at least our value here. They're sitting at 14. Verdance kill range on a good hand is typically around 10, but with AB1, like you have to be around like 6 is when it starts getting like a bit dangerous. Just with like random amp stuff as well. All right, so let's go ahead and cycle our gold. We have the take game, so we don't need to worry about reload. We have another take game, which is not super helpful. We could try to cycle some gold here. Could cycle at least 1 gold and then Arsenal the Kraken and just try to kill them with Goldfin, which is reasonable. Let's make... I feel like at this point it might be more efficient to make a Goldfin, so let's go ahead and just do this. Okay, so now this is a Goldfin turn. We're trying to go for a Kraken turn, but it's fine. So this is a fine fail state. We're going to be sending in 12 here anyways, and then getting to Arsenal the Kraken. So we'll make the best use of our resources here. And then since we made the riches this turn, this will have the on-hit gold from the hook. So this might not end up connecting, but we do still have the Kraken in Arsenal. Still sitting at a decently high life total, although against Verdance, anything can happen, right? But we are at least forcing potentially 2 cards from hand, assuming like random action plus D-react. And maybe they're taking like 4. Right, so blocking with the channel momentum tree. So this will put them to 1. But we do get the gold as well. So maybe we're only forcing 1 card from hand here. What's the worst thing that they can have at this point? Maybe just like big arcane spell. Right, big arcane spell's pretty good if they have the blue to follow it up with. So I think here it's interesting. We're definitely just taking this though, because they might not end up winning anyways. All right, so we're now officially in the Verdance danger zone. So how do we want to navigate this? I think we do just need to go for the 13. They can storm, so we're functionally at 9, potentially 10 if we like IP with the Kraken. Yeah, I think there's not really a ton to think about here. I think if they just have like an amped Burn Bear, then like obviously they have it. But I think that's like they have to find a way to amp the Burn Bear as well. We could have like cracked a gold if we wanted to get a little bit greedy. Or we could have also like held back with the pre-med, but given how many reacts Verdance's run, I think like it's pretty reasonable to try to threaten 13. And at least this way, if they have like the discard amp plus the Burn Bear plus the Waning Moon, we at least have to make them like think about it. Because like if we have blue in hand, that obviously also blows them out. I think we're in an okay spot here. They have to have like a very specific hand to stay alive here. So they have the sync. So this is why I kind of wanted to like push for more damage ideally. And they are going to Storm Strider. They do have to light up the Lees, but they need to have the amp, I think, now at this point. So let's go ahead and quiver here. We'll get our 1 prevention, and I guess there's no real reason to pay at this point. We can pay on the next thing, so it'll only be 0. All right, now they need to have some way to like discard amp. Okay, so it looks like they don't have it. Nailbiter of a game. 1-1. Yeah, just barely got there against the Verdance. And yeah, this is why we wanted to go for a tall arrow, because if we just send 10 there, right, they can double react, and then they can also just like block with like one of the two actions in hand. So like we needed to send 13 there. Yeah, we'll not do a rematch. But yeah, that kind of does go to showcase, I guess, like the Verdance matchup. It's very, very close. I think that the quiver there actually ended up helping a lot, which is kind of cool. But yeah, I think like one of the things you have to be a bit careful about in this matchup is just like knowing their kill range, and we were just like one outside their kill range there, which is I think an important thing to I guess keep track of when you're kind of like playing into Verdance. All right, that was pretty good. Let's see if we can get another. All right, let's get some good Cindra practice. Shark plus Star Pit, nothing fancy. See how it goes. I kind of like this matchup a lot. It does feel like sometimes like we just don't see our tech cards and then we lose, but that's kind of like the nature of Marlyn, I guess. We'll see if the one hamstring shot ends up putting in some work. I'm sure it will. I mean, clearly better than I have a FaB at this point, right? But we'll get the practice with it. All right, go ahead and second this matchup's pretty good. See what our opponents got first, though. I imagine most Cindras, I think, try to attack me on turn one. I don't think I've ever seen a Cindra not attack. Oh, very interesting. Okay, they're gonna go for filtering here as opposed to sending damage, but we also have filtering of our own. I think I actually want to just like double filter here. All right, 3 Oak's a pretty good draw with the pre-med. So yeah, we'll get our own filtering back. I'm a-okay with that. I don't think I've ever seen the Cindra filter against me on turn one, which is interesting because I think we actually kind of punished them pretty bad there. This hand, oh, we can get really greedy with this hand if we want to, and not make a gold fin. So how many arrows? So how many arrows are in our deck? Sorry, I need to counter arrows real quick. It is. We have 22 arrows in the deck, or 20 arrows in this configuration. We discard the gold fin. We pitched 1, so we have 19 arrows in the deck. Oh, I want to get greedy so bad. I think I kind of should get greedy against Cindra. But I guess in this case, we could start with the tipple and dig 1 card deeper first, which I think is reasonable. Go ahead and get a little greedy. This might be one of those games where we like scoop because I went full greed, but now I guess we have the backup drill shot at this point, so it's fine. So if we don't find an error here, worst case scenario, we can be sending drill shot. But that makes me feel, I guess, a little bit better. And we're also getting an extra ponder here, which is nice. Go ahead and gold bait hook because we can. Just send in with another 3 Oak. All right, Redfin Harpoon is excellent. So what are we looking to arsenal here? It's probably the drill shot, realistically. Yeah, I think drill shot's just probably the best thing. Like, Loan Shark is cute and all, but we don't really need it. And we also are, I guess, we're getting a couple ponder tokens as well, so like saving this blue, I think, makes a bit more sense than saving a yellow. Yeah, we should be connecting with this unless they have some D-Reacts or something very specific. And getting the hand information against Cindra is also just like really powerful, beside the Redfin text, which is obviously quite good as well. Arc with Magma's interesting. Not seen that one in a while. Are we getting double directed here? That could be a little unfortunate. Not the end of the world. All right. Single D-React is fine though. This means we still are getting a card. Let's take, I guess, the right hot on the heels. Slightly a little bit better than the left one. And then 100 token, what are we getting? Okay, Codex is pretty good. So I think we're gonna like there's an argument to arsenal the drill shot, but I maybe just rather pitch it depending on the hand next turn, and like we might need the blue for pitch, so I think it's a little bit more reasonable. Here it's a bit interesting. I think we're just target trapping this for no value, but that's fine. Do have codexes, which are helpful. So let's start by cracking a gold. Ideally, we would like to find a blue here. Pull the tip. Not incredibly helpful. Yeah, we do want to find a way. Like, we could just stop here and not crack, and then make a Goldfin discard, and then get our arsenal. Just reasonable, but I do like getting a little bit greedy. Let's get one card greedier. All right, perfect. Now we get to gold the tip on a red fin, which is really good. We could guarantee that we're getting the Codex here, but I kind of want to hold on to that last gold. I think it's fine to go off Codex for one turn. And we still have one more in the deck, so I think it's fine to pitch there. We've not made a gold this turn, so I'm not going to hook. Although I think you could get greedy, but they have showed us that they have reacts in the deck, and if they're on Sink Below, it's like pretty likely that they're also on Shelter. What we got here? So they have the Demonstrate Devotion, which is maybe the take here, although the brand is also tempting. Let's take the Devotion just because it's more damage. They have their full Blood Spider Vest at this point, so I think the damage makes sense there. Although they could definitely get some value out of the brand. We have the Catch of the Day, which is not bad. All right, there's the third Codex, which is also very, very funny, and we're coming up on Tunic as well. So I'd say a pretty good set of draws on our side. Yeah, we're probably looking to just tar pit whatever attack they play here, so we know they're the brand, and then I think we're going to try to tar pit whatever the last attack is, although if it isn't a going attack, it gets a little bit more awkward. If they just pass here, then we get to gold the tip, which I think makes a bit more sense. Like, I didn't want to tar pit there in case they didn't end up going a bit wider. But Catch of the Day on a Redfin could be quite good. I mean, sometimes you just see all three codexes and you're chilling, even if it's just on a Redfin. I mean, King Shark is the I think our opponent's a little bit mad. I would be too, to be fair. Okay, not that bad. They're single them out. Okay. The red can go burr. But yeah, very, very funny red fin draw. So our Cindra opponent has not gotten the chance to play the game, which is very funny. Go ahead and take. I don't want to just take the ignites here. Take double ignite, leave them with snatch because like we don't care. But yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good series of draws, even if we're not sending in with a King Shark, which is kind of funny. If we are still a King Shark here, that would be way funnier though. And try Will into existence, although I'll take a 3-oak. And we drew the King Shark anyway. Okay. So our opponent will not get a chance to play this game, which is exactly like this is like peak MARLYNN gaming is when your opponent like cannot play the game and you just get full tempo every turn. Pretty awesome set of draws. This might go into my like MARLYNN montage at this point. But yeah, I think we are just going to say no blocks given that we're at a 20-point life difference. So I'd say that's pretty good. Okay, so yeah, I think our opponent had maybe seen enough there. It had a Wrath in Arsenal, but didn't really matter. But yeah, that was, I think, probably one of the more disgusting MARLYNN games I played in a while. I think we're also going to end up cracking a bit of gold next turn, so we're going to draw into like 2 buffs on the top 2. So this King Shark would have been coming in for potentially 20. Or no, I think it was going to be 20. If I was going to do the series of draws I was going to do, which I think involved cracking as much gold as possible, I think that this King Shark would be coming in for 22 with the Catch of the Day. Because we have 4 here. We have the 2 puffs on top, so it's 4, 12. Yeah, so 20-point King Shark. Not bad, not bad. But yeah, that was a pretty fun high roll game. All right, so that's going to wrap up the video for today. So we played against a couple of the kind of like more popular decks in the format. I think there are some decks that are a lot easier to beat with this deck than others, but I think that there's still some developments going on, and we actually didn't really end up missing the eye all that much. So like if you don't have an eye or you like don't have a riches, like I think this deck is still definitely playable. I'm kind of almost thinking that like a tie and riches are honestly like the 2 most important fables. I think like eye is always kind of been like the 3rd most important, but eye is like it's just a pretty cool card in general. So you do kind of miss it sometimes when you end up seeing the hamstring, but that's normally like pretty negligible in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, hope you all enjoyed the video. We're just kind of doing some more practice for ProQuest, and yeah, I'll probably see y'all next week for some maybe non-Marlin gaming, who knows. But yeah, just want to get as much reps as possible in for the weekend because we do have a couple ProQuests that I'm gonna try to compete at. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time. And a special thank you to all the folks who decided it would be a good idea to give us $2 on Patreon. We really appreciate the support, but it's obviously never required.